fiercely pursuing accountability on policy and implementation. It's time for another DJ Elf 7 candidate interview.
Hey yo, what's up? It's your boy DJ Elf 7. That's right, today we got a special guest on the show. As you know, I'm interviewing every single person running for candidate, right? Any elected position here in New York City, and we got one of the candidates right here. I'm gonna let him introduce himself though. Go ahead.
Hi, first of all, thank you for inviting me for this interview. I just really appreciate this opportunity to share about my candidacy and the reason why I'm running for City Council for District 47 in Brooklyn.
Okay, so where's District 47?
District 47 is in Bensonhurst, so that's a strip of Seagate, Coney Island.
Well, you know that strip, Bensonhurst. I know that area, right? Look, maybe you could say South Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's South Brooklyn.
Okay, so take a look at Bensonhurst, and the current council member. I think that he's very it's a highly Jewish community, right? Yeah. There's also a fair amount of Chinese population, right? And Italian as well, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of if you by Coney Island and Seagate, you could see a mixture of blacks and Russians community.
Okay.
In Bensonhurst, there's a lot of Asians community as well. But I did the census work, so I actually go around and collect and documented how many people are actually living. And I noticed our Asian population is growing tremendously. And if you notice, there's only one street right now considered is part of the Jewish, which is part of the District 47. But as the census 2020 that just completed, we will be rezoning.
Mm-hmm.
So that's based on how that works. And after 2 years, that's why instead of every 4 years we have election for city council.
Yeah.
It's going to be done a little bit different. So it's going to be 2 years after this one.
Just so you know, actually, one of the things that one of my friends, James Waguski, is working on was something called Independent Congress. The thing is that you're absolutely right. The census is causing huge changes right now. Actually, one thing is that the majority of New York City council seats will flip, right, as well as the mayor himself, with the opportunity to actually change things in New York City has come at a unique time. Also, the census will change all the districts for the House of Representatives. So that means that AOC will no longer be a incumbent, right? And everything's going to go topsy-turvy. So that means we're also sliding to 22 with the unique opportunity to change things in the House. So these two events are being combined into a super independent rollout for candidates as yourself. I believe you're running independent, correct?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about your decision to run independent.
So originally, there was one teacher that tried to recruit other teachers to run for office.
Is this like through the union, or is this just like locally, like some teachers were talking, or like?
It was some people talk, right?
Okay.
But ultimately, other teachers decide not to run. It's only me and this teacher that who start running independently, and
Are you a public school teacher? Are you a private school teacher? You teach
I'm a public school teacher.
You teach like regular. You teach like regular school that people think about, or you teach like secondary. Your English is excellent. Yeah, you're not. Do you teach English? What do you teach?
I teach math, actually.
Okay, just like to regular high school kids or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you interact with the public school system, so I'm sure you'll have some opinions about that. Yeah? Okay, so that's cool, man. So you were talking with some other teachers, and then for some reason that ended up making you decide to go independent. Why?
I mean, if I was running as a Democratic Party, a lot of people are already using a lot of preparations work already. I probably will not win that race. So I wanna run this race strategically, but also I'm running because I'm in the wake of the Asian hate crimes that's happening. Literally, I was attacked and harassed 5 times during this pandemic, and I'm living 3 stations away from people that got stabbed and that person died. And I just hate to wake up one day either fighting myself or the people that I know that got attacked because I didn't do something, or because, I didn't try to do something about that. And for during this pandemic time, I usually wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, just to fight myself. you know,
Yeah.
try to look up the news and see what's going on out there, and try to see that there's no bad news happening. But unfortunately, there's just a lot of things
Yo, now a
that
lot of people on the channel they see my happy face all the time, but just so you know, if you see this right here, that's a scar right there from a knife coming in. You know what I mean? Over here we got another one. You see how my hairline cut back a little bit weird. That's because I also been sliced there. I don't. You guys can't really see the scar here. There's another scar here I got, and you see a little bump right. You'll see on the old videos from a couple years. There's no bump above my neck. Someone put a knife to my neck right there. So I've been through it too, man. I've been sliced up a bunch of times. You know what I mean? If the
wow.
right hand is really on this side, so that's why they're always getting me on this side. You see what I mean? Slice, slice. You know what I mean? That's how it goes. So I've been there too with you, bro. It's all good though.
I mean, it's not a good feeling. It's
Hey,
definitely
man.
not a good experience that anybody want to have. But literally, I just just whatever happening right now, it just remind me of when I was in high school, right, sitting in a history class where you
Yeah.
watch these documentary movie about racism. So, with slavery, people getting lynched, attacked, killed. But right now, this is happening right now.
Now, some of the weird things
It's
that I
about
see.
race.
Yeah. One of the weird things that I feel like the mainstream media is talking about this particular situation is they want it seems like they say a lot of the victims are women and older people, and I'm like, I feel like the mainstream media doesn't care about Asian men because what about all the delivery guys that get jumped all the time? You know what I mean? Like, what do they mean that Asian men don't face discrimination? Like, we've been dominating academics for how many years? And then, like, why are we not like the leaders of these businesses? And, but nobody seems to notice that, We're seriously underrepresented in all leadership positions. And,
You're
yeah.
absolutely right, and that's why I'm run because I don't see there's an equal representation in city council, and for the last over 20 years in my districts, it haven't been people of color candidate in the office,
Okay.
and you could see that my district right now is growing with Asians populations, and it would just make sense that we have a leaders who look like me, who act like me, that
Right.
can actually be inclusive with everyone instead of just we need to change the game a little bit.
Okay. So I remember that earlier you said that the thing is that with the whole Democrat thing, maybe there's probably already a candidate who's running on the Democrat line, maybe a little bit more, placed in the community, things like that, right? Why would they choose you over someone who's, maybe who was prepared earlier or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, what's unique about your perspective versus someone who's, maybe more typical candidate?
I would say I am a diversity advocate. I believe in that everybody should have an equal representation regardless of your skin color. Um, as a teacher, I work in a black and brown community. So I understand the struggle of my students going through, and even within this time, they're extremely supportive. They speak up for me. They even change the logo, stop Asian hate. Hate is a virus, just to show support. Um,
Okay.
I understand the struggle of a working class member. Okay, and also as a teachers, I know the struggle that we go through as a teacher, and you can see with our educational system in New York City, a lot of teachers do not have the level of respect due to the system that we are having at the moment. So hopefully, I want to be in positions not just because I want to gain power or a title or anything. Because if I want to do that, I will get in the position for the wrong reasons. I here because I really want to advocate for our community, regardless of your skin color. I want I want a better change, right? I want the things that actually work instead of just politicians just keep coming up into the podium or at the rally and just talk about okay, stop the Asian hate or doing this instead of actually making taking actions, which is I'm doing right now because I'm trying to bring a self-defense program or event into my community because that's a lot of Asian population are being attacked. So then they can feel safe and they could learn a few skill to just to move themselves away from a dangerous situations.
That's good that you're organizing this program now. Do you have any experience with leadership or maybe organizing programs like this before?
Actually, when I was in college, I was a resident advisor, so organize those programs there just to engage, diverse student populations. But also, I was resident director, so I managed building where it's allowed me to work with a diverse student populations, talk to different people from administrators, parents, just to making sure that I'm serving our constituents.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's it's a nice little background right there. I have a bunch of different organizations that I work with, and here's where I'm going to ask you some questions about if you would possibly support those different interests, right? For one of them is going to be, say, Assange. Yeah, Assange is you might know him from WikiLeaks and things like that. Would you support freeing Assange?
What is that?
Assange is a guy who he actually have you heard of something called WikiLeaks?
No.
No. Okay. So the thing is that have you heard of Snowden?
Mm-mm.
Edward Snowden.
No.
No. Okay. Well, just to cover WikiLeaks, the thing is that sometimes the government does things that it shouldn't. For example, like overseas, right? There was footage of there's something called double taps where they would actually were shown killing civilians or press members, things like that, which they shouldn't have done, even though they were debilitated. They didn't need to kill them, they did, and it was considered bad press for the military. But this guy named WikiLeaks leaked it. Now the thing is that one big point of contention is that he didn't actually do the espionage himself, right? It's not like he grabbed the camera tapes and put them out. It's kind of like Watergate, right? Yeah, someone gave the tapes to the New York Times, and the New York Times published the information. Someone gave these tapes to WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks published it, and it was also published after that by many places, including, I think, New York Times, stuff like that. They all referenced this thing. But only Julian Assange was punished and sent to jail because he was the one who kind of like made it hot, So, yeah. He was put in jail, and right now he sits in England. You could look it up more. We'll probably talk about that later. But it's a free speech and a right to know type of information that is important for this particular, especially in these days and times.
Well, let me quickly recap of what you say. So basically, this person tried to report news about events, and then the government tried to oppress it.
Yeah.
And put him in prisons.
Yeah, he is in prison right now.
Information.
Yeah, he's in prison. He's actually from Australia. He was doing a lot of his work over in Europe. But, an international community decided to actually help take him out. So he was in England. They refused to extradite him to the U.S., which is actually funny because the reason why they wouldn't extradite him to the U.S. is because they said U.S. prisons are too inhumane. Wow, what an indictment of our prison system. That was crazy. One of our allies said this, right? But yeah, he's basically a political prisoner. But it's a cause that's worthy of learning of. And just so you know, I'm a powerful political ally for you, especially as in terms of building a coalition. Because remember, what I'm doing is I'm talking to every single candidate like yourself, or I'm trying to, right? So I know that which candidates are working on issues similar to yours. So if you can, hey Ed, which council members, have ideas similar to mine, I want to push this vote through so we can make this thing happen for education. Yo, this guy, this is who I know. I can maybe, put these people in your corner. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, good. So, I've been actually around the scene for a long time. I've been involved in acting for over 20 years. I think with the self-defense, I even told you that I got a commendation from the New York State Assemblywoman Ellen Young, but I decided to interface with the system from a non-candidate position. I actually choose not to be a leader, but I do have effect behind the scenes. That's the way I like to do things. Yes, makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. Do you support UBI? UBI is something known as a universal basic income. It was made probably famous by Martin Luther King when he said that it's time for us to get rid of poverty and maybe institute something like a universal basic income. He said it better than that, and it was made more popular recently by someone named Andrew Yang. You may know of him. He ran for president. So UBI.
I actually volunteered with his campaign as well, and because of my running for as a city council, I did get an invitation to do the subway ride, but obviously missed that opportunity.
Subway ride with Andrew Yang?
Yes.
Okay. So what would that subway ride entail? Like you just ride subway with him and get pallet petitions or something?
You're supposed to ride with him and just show because he collecting like different Asians candidates to ride a subway ride with him. That actually pictures on Facebook as well. Just to show unity, just to show that it is safe. Well, not to say that it is safe, but try to promote that it is safe to ride in the subway. But I'm actually the one who rides subway every day. But I don't know about obviously all the city council member might ride a subway. But if you're wealthy enough, you have a car, then you don't actually ride a subway.
Yeah, it depends. There's different people doing different things out there. Yeah, so that's cool,
Yeah.
man. So all right, so it's too bad about the subway ride, but I'm sure there'll be other opportunities coming up.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. There's some other things that are going on with me in that situation right now, but we'll talk about that some other time. Yeah, let's go on to the next topic right here. Now the thing is that a lot of people see this kind of like reopening thing. They want to know, when is my life going back to normal, right? Do you have any plans or ideas? And it's actually cool because you work in the school system. I say that's one of the most highly regulated areas right now. Are you guys actually back in the classroom yet?
We actually back in class right now. Every grade has been open.
Okay.
But
So you
supposedly
already,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you already have some sense of what an active, like a reopening kind of looks like. Because the schools, I guess, would be kind of like maybe are halfway reopened, or maybe would you even say are they fully reopened?
It is fully reopened right now, but students have option to opt into the class. So I think at the top leaderships, they try to reopen fully school. But with the COVID situations right now, for example, my school got shut down like right before the spring break because of COVID cases. So there's definitely a lot of things that we can do to prevent these things from happening, which I'm suggesting I bring it up to my school.
Okay, so what's your? Do you have a schedule? Like when people are wondering, when is my life going to be normal again? What do you think about that?
I think this is normal. To be honest, COVID is something. If you're looking at the back label of Lysol, right? The ingredient, COVID is one of the things that they try to fight off. So scientists and doctors probably already have know about this already, but it's just a matter of time of how we preparing about fighting this off. And it just in Asia, like if you are aware about different countries in Asia like Korea, Taiwan, they are pretty good in fighting COVID because their health sense is relatively high. They take precautions. They're taking things seriously, and I just wish that in the U.S. people should take it seriously because I remember in January 2020. Um, when we have COVID in China, we have COVID starting from Asia. Um, I was starting wearing masks already, but in New York City, people would look at me like very weird, like why does this group people wearing masks? And it's so it's so funny that like now that everybody start wearing masks, and even people try to correct me the way that I'm wearing masks. So extremely interesting how we do these things. Um, but I think we should be more aggressive in terms of you know taking precautions. For example, with testing, I don't think we do enough testing in comparison with in Asia countries in Asia, and
Okay.
that's the reason why we still rolling with this thing. Even though right now, according to stat, the COVID rate is decreasing, but we never know what's happening. It is best to to take the best precaution as much as possible.
Okay. We take a look at education. It's kind of a hot topic right now. The SHSAT is definitely, kind of in the air, GNT. What are your thoughts on those things?
Um, it is very interesting topic too, because if you talk to Asians parents and families, they obviously definitely want to keep the CSHAT test, which is to get you to specialized high school test. But you talk to different community or as well, could they want to open up to take at least right now from what I heard, it's like 30%, top 30% from each school, which all the parents who spending their money and resource
Right.
uh, send their kid to tutoring, to prep them up, and now they feel like we try when we have that initiative, then they will taking away the spot of of their child. So which I can understand from their perspective, but I also can understand that we need to have a more equitable access to educations.
Yeah.
But having equitable access does not mean that we have to sacrifice excellence, academic excellence. So they still need a lot of work into behind it. They need to examine a little bit on how to better doing that. But by taking 30% or whatever percentage to the top of every school and put them to special high school, that probably will not work very well.
Yeah, it seems like yeah, and the person does the person have a choice if they're in the top 30%, or are they just going to automatically get sent to the school?
Supposedly the talk is that you got 30%. If that initiative go through,
Yeah,
right, then the top 30% of each middle school will go to special high school.
no
But if
matter
you
what.
talk to
Okay.
people in special high school, they probably do not like that either. Especially the parents who spend, the money, the
Right.
time to invest in the children, and just to find out that because of this cap number,
So it's
even
not.
though
Yeah.
this,
It makes sense
yeah.
that it seems like you're not for the new plan because you see like it really isn't complete enough and it has problems, and that makes sense to me. But are you for the SHSAT or against the SHSAT? I guess we could say.
Um, I need to see a plan that will actually allowing um, students to have access to academic excellence. I would say that because every single student deserve an opportunity at a
Sure.
high academic quality environment.
Hey.
But at the same time, it had to be done by hard work. It cannot just be done because of such policy that we try to open the door for, you know, just because we want to make sure that, just because we want to make sure that it is equal, but we want to make sure that we're striving for the academic excellence as well.
Hey, just so you know,
So
just
it
to
is an
yeah.
intricate thing to do. So you can't just say, "Oh, I'm for this" or "I'm against this." It's not a black and white thing. Because we want to make sure that because we're working with diverse student populations, we have diverse student needs.
Yeah.
And it's very intricate when we're working with that and different parents as well.
Hey, something that I'd like to share with you right now is that I'm gonna plug myself just for a little second here. I don't ever plan on running for anything, right? But what I do actually is I actually have a tutoring program. I took cognitive math classes in middle school, but I actually majored in English, right? Because the people who inspired me weren't mathematicians, but people like Martin Luther King who wrote like fantastic diatribes. So I actually went the English route. So the thing is that what I do is I have an hour free for any student who wants to see me. That's first up. And any student who refers me to another student to complete a free hour with them, they get another free hour. So if you are someone who's willing to work and tell 10 of your friends about my services, then you can get a total of 10 free hours. Not only that, but what I actually tried to do is with the Yang Gang and with Tulsi Crew, because I'm really a true Tulsi at the presidential primary, but now we're all kind of drifting off and doing our own thing. But one thing that I had done was I tried to set up an exchange right within these communities. There's different people with different services that they want to provide to the community. So some people, what they do is they keep constantly donate to these different organizations, right? But instead of donating actual money, I donate my services instead. It helps you to promote my services, right, to a community that I know has similar interests of mine, yeah, and I get to volunteer and help them, and I think it's a win-win situation. So now another thing that's cool about tutoring, right, is the fact that I do it online, so I have students from all over the nation. So I've coordinated is I've had students from like the West Coast, from the East Coast, and I'll make them be regional managers. So the thing is, on one day, like for Thanksgiving, we coordinated a giveaway. We gave a whole bunch of clothes and food and clothing. I had a student in Connecticut that won free tutoring for a year because she won my student of the year. Big props out to I think it was. It's been so long, I forgot her name.
How long
I
you
know the
been
mom's name is Jen. Huh?
How long you been doing the tutoring program?
I've been doing that for decades now, but as from the charity stuff, I started doing that more recently, and it's good for the kids because they can really put that on. It gives them a hands-on way to interact with doing things instead of just being told what to do. So they start thinking about how they can use their own learning. Right, I make their learning relevant. So. Yeah, that's just a cool program that I'm running, man. Maybe we could find a way to coordinate with. I also have, remember, this independent Congress people that I'm working with. I have connections all around the country. Yeah, so
Pretty cool.
even whether this works out or not, this could be the backbone of a new independent movement towards the House of Representatives move. We're looking at that, right? So that's part of the reason why we're here, scouring for people just like yourself, right, that are interested in getting involved one way or the other. Yeah.
we need more common people to be in a position, because like me, who understand the struggle of working class member, right? Because
Yeah.
as a teacher, I understand the struggle that we go through as a teacher. We definitely need a lot of respect in our education system, which we do not have.
Well, here's some other issues
So
that you're going to be struggling with right now. Right now, the people in the normal parties, right, they only got to get 1.5% of the signatures, right, of the people in their district. But because you are independent and didn't do the party negotiations, you have to get 2.5%. Most people get double, so whereas they were only getting 3% of the thing, now you actually have to get 5% if you want to be safe and get over your ballot numbers. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, and also like there's a lot of like little rules where people get kicked out because they don't have like a staple instead of paper clips or all kinds of like the wrong color ink. So we're here to make sure that you know help you not fall on your face. I mean, in the end, you gotta check everything yourself, but we're also have that's coming up on Monday. We're gonna be having a special workshop, especially for independent and third party, to help you out and to give you a platform so you can speak more about also with other candidates about these issues. Cool.
That would be great. Thank you.
Awesome, dude. So I'm glad to get your position on the SHSAT. So you think that it could use some work? You're right. You're okay with it, but with some modifications.
Yes, we
Okay.
cannot just remove the test completely,
Okay.
because it seems to be working out fine for now. But obviously, because our population are changing, right? We got to
Yeah.
be adapted to it, but we cannot just remove it completely, because the specialized high school test is not like an SAT, because
Yeah.
SAT is a completely different thing.
You know, and,
Uh,
and I'm really so thankful for candidates like yourself because it's time for us to. It always says that the Asian community has to give up more. Asian community has to give up more. If they're going, where are the affirmative action for us? We have been dominating academics since the 80s, right? Where are we in the leadership positions? Where are we in sports and entertainment? Where are we? There are zero programs to help us. In fact, right, when I went to Hunter College as a postbac, because we are represented, right, what they do is they bring in international students from China, which I love them to death. They're paying 4 to 5 times the rate as international students. Their campus looks like they have Asians. Now, I don't qualify. Some white girls, I'm not mad at them. They're getting into the research labs on special scholarships, but because I'm not an underrepresented minority, because they're shipping in all these geniuses from China, God damn it, you know what I mean? I'm not mad at them. They are my inspiration. I love them to death. Where am I in this? I don't qualify for any minority of things. What I don't get discriminated against. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Thank God. Thank you, Winton. Please, man. We need some representation, man, for real.
I definitely could relate to you, because I remember when I was in college. I mean, I got straight A's, and because I was a low income student. Um, there's certain program that I could get into, but I remember there was one program that I could get. It's like a STEM program. I couldn't get into. You know why? Simply the reason is because I'm Asian. Because they say Asian excels in we excels in science, so obviously you're not qualified for this program.
Can you imagine I did that to black people in NBA? You're too good for basketball, dude. We're gonna take the black people and make it even. What the, you know what I mean? What? How are they going to take the one thing we got? The one thing we got. And also, right, if you take a look at the way discrimination is done against us at Harvard and stuff like that, when they interview us, when it's subjective, that's when we get cut. Oh, this guy isn't leadership material. I just didn't like the way this person was. And that actually has been shown to hurt us. So the more subjective they make it, right, that's why we need an objective test, Asians, because we are discriminated against without mercy. Yeah.
It is. It's reality. I'm not sure whether you're aware that in California there was a Filipino guy who was choked to death by a police officer, but that have limited media coverage as comparison to George Floyd situations. They both is something that should not be happening,
Yeah.
but one the other did not yield a lot of movement as compared to George Floyd. I just wish that our Asian community will stand up and rise up against this hate, uh, because we cannot just keep pretending there's nothing happened. If we keep living in fear and say nothing, nothing will change. So that's why I had to step up, regardless of what the result will be. My goal is to help and to bring the community together. With little things that I can do, I will do it. I want to do. I want to make sure that if tomorrow I die, I can rest in peace knowing that I have done something for my community. Because I don't want to be the type of person that say, well, I cannot do this. Or some people, I cannot do that. I feel helpless. I don't know what else to do to help our community. There's a plenty of things that we can do regardless of our positions in our community. If you're a parent, you can talk to your child about explaining about the situation. For example, me as a teacher, little thing like is the only Asian teacher in the black and brown community. I make sure that I address that to my school, and I actually share that. And I also ask my students to change the logo, for example, Stop Asian Hate, Hate's a Virus, things like that, to show me support, but also to bring awareness of this issue because a lot of them are not, they're aware of the issues, but they probably won't dare to ask me about these things. So I took a risk by sharing my personal story about 5 times being, personally harassed and attacked because I think 2, 3 weeks ago, there was a white man who's, struck an umbrella at me while I was riding on a scooter, and luckily I ducked. But imagine if I didn't, I would fall flat on my face. And what's gonna happen? A lot of people just gonna go around, take YouTube video camera. No, I want to take actions now. Why I'm, and I need a lot of support from our community members, regardless of who you are. We need to connect together. You know, there's only one race, and that is human race. And it doesn't matter you're Latinx, Jewish, Russians, Black, Asian. We are oppressed group. If you're dating back to history, right? Oppressed group like us, minority, people of color, we've been targeted and discriminated because our skin color, for whatever the things that we do. And if we don't tight, if we want to unite together, they're gonna split it up again.
Hey, so that's a good segue into now there's a lot of talk about police reform, defund the police, this type of thing. Where do you stand on defund the police reform? What are your ideas there?
I actually do a lot of readings, and I also have positive and negative experience with police officers as well. Um, and I do a lot of reading. I feel like police is a product of white supremacy. Because that's is a system to create, to control people, to run our community, and to put people in prisons. I feel the better way of doing, instead of using those money for putting in police officers. Obviously, they are there for a reason to keep us safe,
Mm-hmm.
but we need to invest more money in community organizations and education because that is the base. If our if our students, if our children are raised improperly and know on how to de-escalate the situation, know how to work with each other instead of hating on each other or attacking on each other, then we will need less police in that matter. If we have police, patrolling, that means that we don't have a safe community. We need to be in a place where we
Mm.
could have our door open. We have neighbors talking with each other, checking on each other, and helping each other out. Because I grew up in Vietnam, and people are very friendly, right? It's not as stressful as in America, where people do not know their neighbor, their name, and what's going on. Over there, if you got sick and you can't even, go get food, your neighbor is your best friend. Let's say you don't have a family member, they will come and help you. So me being in the position, hopefully I wanted to create a lot of international fiesta food program to, to unite us all and to actually getting all different groups to work with each other, right?
Sure.
Instead of we right now we are very separated. New York City I know is the most diverse city in the world, but we very segregated by zip code. If you're looking at these neighborhoods,
Yeah.
for example, the Russian will stay in the Russian community, the Asian will stay in the Asian community.
I've heard it
So
said
my
that we have
goal,
the most segregated educational system in the nation. I've heard it
I
said.
believe so.
Yeah.
I work in different school. I work internationally. I work in charter school. I work in public school as well. So I've seen it all. There's some school that predominantly uh, with Asian students, but they have less voice in comparison to their white counterparts.
Yeah, well, it happens, man. All right, cool. So let's take a look at the next topic right here. The thing is that there's people out here who are, well, I didn't mean that situation is cool, but I mean, it's cool to hear your take on the situation. So the thing is, another group that I work with is the disabled. And the thing is that people with disabilities right now, some of them are, because they have disabilities, they're allowed to make under minimum wage. But minimum wage is kind of like a subsistence wage. I would even think that you could really make a living, especially if you have disabilities, on minimum wage. Would you advocate for people who have disabilities to also receive minimum wage?
They definitely should receive. I mean, everyone should
Yeah,
deserve the minimum wage to live because
yeah. That's
why not? I mean, it should not have been even a question.
how can you live on less
Because
than minimum wage? Like I
we
can't
have
even
to, we
imagine
need
it.
to be able to
Yeah,
support them.
yeah. Another community that I work with is the trans community, and the thing is sometimes people who are in the trans community, they find themselves, even though there's laws and stuff placed
You mean like the transgender
transgender,
people?
yeah, transgender
Right.
people, right? Yeah. One thing that they face is, even though it's not legal to discriminate against them, right? Yeah, they might be in housing and they might face some discrimination, and then they're forced to leave anyways. You get what I'm saying?
Forced to leave where like
Okay, so let's imagine that oftentimes people who are trans are the most poor. They often face intense discrimination, even though it's illegal. You know what I mean? Right? Some,
mhm.
I mean, honestly, if a trans person comes in and applies for a job, um, it's abnormal. You know what I mean? And you might be taken aback, and I could see some instances where they might not get the job, even though they might be able to do it. As a restaurant, someone might say, what happens if I hire this trans person? Would that affect my customers or something? It's unfortunate what happens. Even if that person themselves believes in the trans issues, they might, for business reasons or whatever, who knows? But in housing, right? Yeah. Sometimes they're discriminated against. They end up real poor. Then they end up in housing, and because they are different from the rest of the community, they may face intense harassment and then end up leaving public housing. So I do feel for the issue. It was brought to my attention. I said, how can I help? And I said, let me bring it to different candidates' attention. Later on, as we leave this call, I may be asking you if there's something that you want me to put in front of all the rest of the candidates that I have interviews with, right? Yeah? It could be a powerful tool. Yeah? So,
Yeah. First of all, I don't consider trans people are different.
okay.
Is they because I have a lot of friends who are
Yeah.
trans, and grew up in Vietnam. Right now too, if you go back to Vietnam, there's a lot. LGBT community are very strong right now. They kind of
Right.
pick up that vibe from Taiwan, and in Vietnam and other part of Asia, people are very supportive
Yeah.
of LGBTQ community. Um, I don't think they are different, right? They are just human like us. They can benefit our community. They're very intelligent, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, what is different is that how they identify themselves sexually and who they're attracted to.
Right. So how can we
That's not be a business of anyone or society.
how do we
Of
get the
saying
outcomes that they're looking for? How do we get them to the point where they're right now, there's a concern that they say that they are being discriminated against and being pushed out of like public housing. How do we take care of them? Because we could pass a law. There's no law that says it's legal to discriminate against them, but I could see it happening. What can we do to right? It's kind of a tricky situation. How do we help them? Because maybe our law's enough, or
obviously the law is not enough, but there needs to be a law in place to protect people, like trans people that need help or any oppressed group, right?
okay,
Also, we need to invest in community organizations that provide that level of housing that cater to trans people. But I wouldn't want to call trans people. I just call them as people who identify differently or who change the gender because
yeah,
I feel like a lot of our label in our community uh, unavoidingly actually discriminate against them when we keep
yeah,
calling
yeah.
these type of people. I don't like calling them because they're just regular people like us.
Also,
They
what can
have
happen, right? Like, and that's been a solution that's been suggested by others, which is a good solution. I like that solution where it says, like, if there's a certain percentage of trans people in the system, and then, for some reason the number is abnormally low, right, we could try to take some specs to really give them dedicated housing to take care of them. But then also, right, people will also self-identify, right, even though they're not really trans, they'll call themselves trans so they can get into the housing, right? Yeah? Then there's also the thing where sometimes people that are poor, They're not poor anymore, right? Like the person might be trans and their children may not be trans, but now they're occupying housing that's meant for trans people. You know what I mean? So we can have passage of ownership. So there's all kinds of like weird little specificities where it gets more complex, right? But
So we just had to
yeah,
come up with a better system on how to regulate that.
but yeah,
But
but I will tell the
I
trans
think
people they have
one of
another
the things
ally.
right now.
Yeah, it sounds like you're friendly to trans issues, and it sounds like you have an open door to them, and that's really I think that's a strong step for the trans
Oh, I
community.
will be
So
an advocate for the
yeah,
LGBTQ community because
okay,
these have our member in the community.
okay,
What
yeah,
we gotta be support. We gotta love each other instead of if I'm not advocate for Black, Russians, Asians, what different?
yeah. Also, that's another reason, just so you know, like I really liked your first answer, and I believe that that's really the true answer, because the thing is that I also join many organizations, Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians. I'm talking to independents like yourself, right? Because I want to be a ambassador for Asian people, right? Yeah, I'm not trans, right? But I'm not mad at trans people, but I'm an Asian person, and I'm an ambassador for Asian people. So I really want to, like you said before, it's the community, right? Yeah, you get to know the person, you establish personal relationships, and then they can see past the labels, hopefully. So yeah, that's really what I try to do, man. And I think it's got to be cultural shift, not just a political shift. So I think that is the core root of the problem. But you will have some special powers as a influencer, as a politician to make laws, blah blah blah. So it's cool to hear your take on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and my goal is, seeing a lot of people, politicians are debating on national television that usually fight against each other. My
Yeah.
goal, if I do get elected, is to work with these other elected officials to bring, but positive change to our community and actually make things work instead of fighting against each other like Beauty Plagios and Governor Cuomo, which should not be the case because imagine in the workplace, right? We are encouraged to collaborate and work well with each other. Meanwhile, you see our politicians, our leaders, who supposed to, well, they are actually running and they're managing our community, but they are fighting with each other like cat fights, and which is not okay.
Yep.
They need to put that down. They need to put that ego down, and they need people like me who are willing to work with everyone for the benefits of our people instead of fighting because of differences. We need
Sure.
what makes us unique, make us strong, and we gotta keep that.
Cool. I'm going to bring one more issue to another person that we're going to try to bring in, a New York activist named Louis Rosman, who's actually working on the idea of right to repair. A lot of our devices nowadays, you're not really allowed to do any fixes to it or change your batteries, things like that, without voiding the warranty. Actually, I'm asking him to maybe appear on the Monday event as maybe as a quick presenter. It would be cool to present that issue from a local New York City guy. Would you be? Are you familiar with the right to repair legislation or anything of that particular?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, you would support people's right to be able to, repair their devices, though, right? If they bought an iPhone and they want to, actually, what Apple's doing is they're changing devices so now you cannot fix anything on the phone. Like they're actually making it so if you try to change the home button on your phone, it'll recognize that you change the home button, it'll disable the whole phone and shut it down.
That's why I use Android.
Yeah. But Android is steadily making moves towards that direction as well, right? Yeah. So would you? Maybe we'll have time to learn more about that if you don't know enough about that. Just like the Assange thing. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Hey, so you're real cool. Where can people find out more about you? Do you have social media? Do you put on Twitter a lot? Maybe like that upcoming ballot petitioning is going on. You're gonna need to get a lot of signatures. How do you reach out to your people?
I actually have a Facebook page. Give me a second.
We'll put the link on the screen. Don't worry about it. Yeah, but you got the Facebook.
Okay.
That's the number one thing. You know what I mean? What else? Any other information you want to put out there? Maybe an email. I don't know.
My email is wintonforequity@gmail.com.
That's a number 4. Yeah.
Yeah, number 4.
Okay. That's cool. So you got any other anything? The ballot petition's on Monday. So please come to that. Maybe you have an event to kick off. I don't know. If you do have one, let me know. We'll be glad to. We'll also be having some panel discussions on different issues. Coming up, I believe one of them is New York City public housing. We have quite a few connections in that particular realm, as New York City housing is one of the biggest things that the city does. You know what I mean? So yeah, but education is huge. We're definitely going to have a maybe even an independent third-party forum on that, right? There's going to be hard for you to get press. We're going to help you out with that, okay?
Yeah, but thank you for seeking out for me and interviewing me, because as a common person, I need a lot of publicity, and obviously, the people who actually win the position and be looking at is wealthy people, and it's always the politicians. Political game is always run by wealthy people, and obviously they do not understand the struggle that we go through.
That's absolutely what we do. That's absolutely why we're doing this. You're right, yeah? We've made the voter registration information available for all the districts. Before that would have cost you thousands of dollars. We made it available for you for free. So looking forward to hooking you up with that. That's going to be, we already give that out. That's on something called Rep My Block. So, and we're going to have a national, maybe even national focus. If you make it through this one, that's good. If you don't make it, we're still going to maybe, and you still want to be involved, the House of Representatives, all the incumbents going to flip right there. There's another opportunity for you to get involved with a powerful network and a new team. Yeah?
Don't worry. You will see me around regardless of the result of the election.
Talking about, yeah.
Because I have to keep going and I gotta be persistent, because this isn't happening in one day.
I gotta love it, man. Yeah. That's how we do, man. Thanks a lot, man. Yeah, and much love out to Vietnam. You know what I mean? That foe is, I love that, man. Yo, we gotta go out for Vietnamese soon, man. Yeah?
Yep, thank you.
I love that stuff. And I'm Korean. You know we have good food too, man. But I love me some Vietnamese. I do. Yeah, the vermicelli, you guys killing it. That's my favorite. I can't lie. I can't lie.
Go to the Koreatown on 32nd Street to get food.
We doing both, bro. We doing both. Gotta love it. Yeah, two of the best fusion cuisines in the East. I hate on Malaysian or Chinese either, but or Japanese. They're real quality. But Korean and Vietnamese, you got that flavor. You know what I mean? It's got that special, you know what I mean? Yeah, the sweetness. We got that, yeah? We got that down. Hey, so Tran, once again, God bless, brother. I'll see you soon, all right?
All right, thank you.
Peace.
So please send me the information, and definitely.
Don't worry, it's on the way. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
It's a dark day in our nation when high-level authorities will seek to use every method to silence dissent. The truth must be told.
And if you want the truth, you need to check out independent media producers just like myself, DJ L7. You should subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications when I release a new video.
Truth of these
We
words
are on all
is
the major
beyond
platforms.
doubt.
That includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Unfortunately, we have definitely seen that these mainstream outlets will cave to corporate interests, so we encourage you to join our independently moderated communities of Reddit and Discord. We also encourage you to subscribe to us on BitChute and Dailymotion so you can see the content that YouTube doesn't want us to let you see. Hey, now it's time for the most important part of the video. That's right. It's time for us to tell you about the Taking Action Group. Do you need an activist? Or maybe there's no activists around willing to help you with your cause and you need to learn to become an activist. That's exactly why we're here. Every week we get up with people from across the nation, in fact even sometimes internationally, and we develop strategies and a game plan to address the issues that are affecting all of us. Every week myself from New York City and of course my co-host Lisa from Los Angeles provide a coast-to-coast perspective on what's going on in the country. If you want to donate to help out with expenses, travel, equipment, stuff like that, then I definitely appreciate it, and you can hit us off at Venmo or PayPal. Thanks a lot. Hey, by the way, we also have a merch store, so check it out. Oh my goodness, it seems like you've reached the end of the video, so make sure you check out some of our other videos. Make sure you subscribe. This is your last chance to do so thanks a lot. And looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment below if you have any questions or issues you'd like me to address. And if you're an activist, the time to make things happen is now.